The Nintendo Switch online service has officially launched. Is it as bad as people made it out to be? Well, now that I have it and I've experienced it, I can give you guys my honest opinion. People have been talking about the online service and basically straight up bitching about it before it was even released because of all these details that we heard about and all this other stuff. So I I wanted to do a video on it sooner. However, I thought it was only fair to do a video on it after it's been released because now I've experienced it firsthand and I can give an honest opinion on is the Nintendo Switch online service as bad as people made it out to be, and is it worth your money to buy? Um, well, obviously, if you own a Nintendo Switch and you want to play online multiplayer games, you pretty much have to buy it because there isn't any other way to play online anymore. Um, which is one of the things a lot of people are bitching out about, but it's in today's day and age, it was gonna happen eventually. And honestly, it's still a third of the cost of what PlayStation 4 and Xbox One charge for their online memberships. So it's a smaller pill to swallow, so to speak. But don't expect to get the same quality service as you get with PS4 and Xbox One for a third of the price. It is a third of the price of the competition's online services, but that does not mean it is equivalent to that of those services. So let's hop in to the Nintendo Switch here. Give it a second to load. OBS is a little bit weird whenever using my capture card. Here we go. Okay, so you can see, first of all, I have the Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online app downloaded, and that is one hell of a title. Like, you could have simplified it a little bit, guys, but, if that's my only complaint, then you're doing pretty good. Unfortunately, that's not my only complaint. Um, Now, let's talk about some of the big things, right? Before we dive into the Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online app, I swear that's such a long fucking title. But anyway, before we dive into that, let's talk about the features. Of course, you get access to the app, which has a variety of NES games that you can play, but you also get the ability to have cloud saves for most of your games. Certain games will not allow cloud saves. Now, this has been a huge area of argument and, a huge kind of red flag for a lot of people that not all games will support cloud saves. Most notably, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, Splatoon 2, Fortnite does not support cloud saves. There's a pretty significant list of games that won't support it. However, as you can see, I have a decent amount of games here. I wouldn't say I have a lot of games, but I have a decent amount. And of these games, pretty much all of them support cloud save except for Fortnite. And I actually haven't checked if Paladins does or not. It does. Okay, cool. So yeah, the only game out of this entire list of games that I have, which I consider to be a pretty, moderate amount of games. The only one that doesn't support it is Fortnite, which honestly, I could care less. So, for some people, not having cloud saves for all titles won't even be an issue, because for all you know, all of the games that you have will support cloud save. Now, Splatoon 2 not supporting it is a really big thing. I know people personally who have over 2,000 hours into that game, so to not have cloud saves for that's kind of harsh. But my take on the whole cloud save thing is that yes, they should support it for all titles. However, I would rather have cloud saves for most of my titles than have it for none of them. So, again, you're only paying $20 a year here, so you're not paying a whole lot. If we were paying $60 a year, then yeah, give us cloud saves for everything. But $20 a year, we're getting cloud saves for probably about 99% of Switch titles. So, it is kind of annoying for some people. But I don't look at it as that big of a deal. I don't look at it as a deal breaker for the online service. Now, the other thing regarding cloud saves that's been a huge bit of controversy, which is one of my main problems with the online service, is that if your online service subscription gets canceled, all of your cloud save data will be deleted. Now, to be fair, the same thing happens over at PS4. However, they give you a 6-month grace period where, so long as you reactivate within 6 months, you still have your cloud save data, and Xbox keeps your cloud save data indefinitely, as far as I'm aware. So, this is an area with the whole cloud save thing that I'm like, yeah, they should do better. Now, again, we're only paying $20 a year. Even with the massive amount of Nintendo Switch owners out there, to be able to maintain a cloud save server for only $20 a pop, and all these people filling it with all this data, that costs a lot of money to run. So, I can understand from a business standpoint why they would delete data of somebody who no longer has a subscription. However, from a consumer standpoint, this is not appealing. So, my suggestion to fix this issue is to allow users to have at least 30 days before you delete their save data. I feel like 30 days is a decent amount of time to get your service back up. And if that means charging $5 extra for the service, then go ahead and charge 25 instead of 20. But I feel like there should be at least 30 days where if your account is inactive and you get a new subscription within 30 days, then your cloud save will still be there. I feel like 30 days is a fair amount of time, and I feel like that's something Nintendo should be able to manage. So hopefully we will see some changes in that department as time goes on. That is one of my biggest complaints with the Nintendo Online paid service. But again, from a business standpoint, I can understand why. So, I'm not being like, Nintendo, this is bullshit. Fuck you guys. Because from a business standpoint, I can understand why they would do that. Um, but there does need to be some changes there, I feel. And maybe we'll get those changes as time goes on. Who knows? But that's pretty much everything covering the cloud save. Now, one last thing I want to do for cloud save is I want to show you guys some examples of how quickly the cloud save works. Now, I've already done cloud saves for all my games, so I'm actually going to have to delete some cloud save data to show an example. Let's just go Life Goes On, because that's um, a fairly small amount. So let's just go here, and we're going to delete backup save data. This should only delete the data. Let's see. Delete backup save data. So this should only delete the data that's been on the cloud. Yeah, so there we go. So we still have our save data for that game. It's just the cloud save data is gone. So now let's show an example of how long it takes to do the save data. So we're going to back this up, and it's only 0.5 megabytes, and we're done. Just about. Yeah, so we're done. Now that is now backed up. So that was really quick. That was only 0.5 megabytes. So let's find something a little bit bigger. Let's find Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy. Let's do that one, because I have a lot of time in that one. Let's back this up. So this is 32.1 megabytes. So let's delete our backup. There we go. And now let's back this up. This is 32.1 megabytes. Let's see how long it takes to do this. And we're done. So, as you can see, you can get cloud save data up there pretty quickly. That was 32.1 megabytes. To be fair, results will vary depending on your internet connection. My internet connection is really, really good because I've actually spent probably upwards of about $500 on all sorts of networking solutions. So I have really good connection. But your results may vary depending on internet connection and your distance from the servers. So keep in mind, it may take a little bit longer for some people, but for most people, you're going to see pretty average speeds. But that's pretty decent. Now, I do want to note, I'm not going to do this on camera because it will take a little bit longer. But Skyrim, for example, I have a huge save data on that one. You can see I have 321 megabytes of save data on Skyrim. That one, when I did it last night, took me about 5 minutes to back up, which for 321 megabytes, 5 minutes is still pretty decent. Most games, you're not going to have save data that's that large. I have a friend of mine that beat Super Mario Odyssey, and he hasn't 100%ed it, but he's beaten the game, and he's done a bunch of the moons, and his save data is like 27 megabytes. So most games are not going to have that big of a save file. But it is important to note, the bigger the save file, the longer it's going to take. But overall, the speeds for that are pretty good. So let's go over the final point that we know of, because there's still stuff that they haven't announced for the online service, at least I don't think they've announced the special offers, so we don't know what those are yet. Or at least I'm not aware of them at this time. So let's go into the NES library, because this is probably the last selling point for the online service. So with this, at launch, you get 20 games to choose from. All of these are NES games, and you can actually move the organization of them around however you like, which is really nice. And it'll resize them depending on where you put them. So if you want them all to be big, you can put them in their own rows. And it's a really nice little feature that they didn't have to put in. As you can see, I have like all the Mario ones at the top. I know technically Donkey Kong isn't a Mario game, but it's Mario's in it more or less. That's debatable actually, but let's not get into that. Anyway, that being said, and of course I have Legend of Zelda up here as well, which isn't a Mario game, but I just put that up there because I feel like it fits the theme for the top row. You can see all these are like sports games. But anyway, let's not get into that. Let's show the actual games themselves. So, let's start up Super Mario Bros. 3. You can see all the games after you download the app. All of the games start up right away. You don't have to download the individual games. Just download the app off of the eShop, and all of the games will already be there. You don't have to download the games individually. They're all here. So you can just hop in. You can play however you want. And you can see we are playing Super Mario Bros. 3. And it looks pretty damn good. About as good as it's going to. But yeah, that being said, let's hop out, which you can do by pressing the ZL and ZR buttons. That'll open a little menu, which will allow you to put save points or save states. So you can have up to 4 save states, which is a pretty interesting little feature there. Because obviously these games originally didn't have save states. So it's almost like an emulator. You can, or I guess technically it is an emulator. But they even allow you to have save states. So that's a really nice feature. I feel like a lot of people are going to enjoy that. You can reset the game, which I'm not sure if that actually resets your save data for that game. But it does bring you back to the main menu. And you can just go back to the game selection and pick a different game. So let's say I want to do Double Dragon. Bam, we're playing Double Dragon. I click these, I go back to game selection. Bam, now we're playing Excitebike. And you can just do this all day, every day. So at launch we have 20 games, which we have a decent variety of games here. We have some really important games like Legend of Zelda, Mario Bros. 3, Donkey Kong, Double Dragon. Like, we have some pretty good titles here. But they're also going to be adding 3 new titles every month. So that's important to note. Now, in addition to this, you can also play 2-player if you put in an extra controller. Which actually, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back. And you can also play online multiplayer, which obviously is the first time, or at least the first time I know of, that these games were given online multiplayer features. So you can play online. Now, it is important to note that you can only play online with people that are on your friends list. That's a little bit disappointing to me. I was hoping they would actually allow just to be like, I want to play fucking, I want to play Tecmo Bowl online, and it just matches you up with somebody else who's playing it online. Like, I feel like they should open that up to where you can play with friends or just random people online. Um, but either way, this is probably the main aspects of the paid online service, and probably the main selling point from my point of view. Because honestly, I would have paid $20 a year just to be able to play these games. So, on top of that, I'm also getting cloud saves for most of my games, and the ability to play online, which used to be free but no longer is. So I'm not really going to count that as a feature because it used to be free. So, overall, the Nintendo paid online service, is it as bad as people made it out to be before it was released? And is it worth the money? Well, if you own a Nintendo Switch and you want to play games online, you kind of don't have a choice whether or not you want to buy the online service. That's just a thing you have to do. But should you feel bad about buying it? I don't think so. Against popular belief, I think this is a pretty solid online service. It does have a few caveats with the cloud saves. But overall, at the price point it's at, I think this is pretty solid. So my general opinion of the online service is that it's adequate for the price that they're asking. If you're not into retro games, then obviously the NES stuff might not be as big of a selling point for you as it is for me. But from my perspective, from my opinions, I think this is a pretty decent service for $20 a year. And that's the caveat. If they were providing the exact same service they are now, but they were charging more than $20 a year, and I'm not talking about the family pack because that's different, because that's $35 a year, but it's for multiple accounts, so that's acceptable. But if they were trying to charge, let's say $40 a year, or hell, even $60 a year, like the competition is, and providing the same service that we have now, then I would have a huge problem with that. But at only $20 a year, that is a price point that most people can afford. Honestly, if you can't afford $20 a year, you probably couldn't afford a Nintendo Switch to begin with. I'm not trying to shame anybody who isn't wealthy or anything like that, because I do not come from a wealthy family myself. So I'm not trying to shame anybody for being poor or anything like that. I'm just being realistic. If you can't afford $20 a year, you most likely couldn't afford a Nintendo Switch to begin with. So it's an entry level price point that I think most people will be able to afford, and I think for the price, this is a really solid service. I look forward to seeing how Nintendo adjusts and implements things into this service as time goes on. Maybe we'll get some SNES games, or maybe even N64 or GameCube. I don't think they're going to go that far. I think we'll be lucky if we get SNES. But regardless, this is a really solid service, and I think it's worth the money. So if you're buying it, I don't think you should feel bad about buying it. I think, regardless of the critics, I think for the price, this is a decent service that you should get. Now, just a disclaimer before I wrap this video up. I'm not sponsored by Nintendo. They didn't pay me to say any of this. In fact, Nintendo probably doesn't even know who the fuck I am. Alright? So, this is my complete, unfiltered opinions on the online service. I just want to make that very clear before I wrap up. So yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you guys think about the online service. And let me know how you think Nintendo could improve it. Or if you think it's fine as it is. Let me know what you guys think down below. But without further ado, thank all you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and become one of the ground babies. I'll see all you guys next time. Goodbye, guys.